You've been asking what actually runs this site, and for a while, my honest answer was mostly European, but not entirely. That changed recently. The last two holdouts were hosting and CDN. I'd been on Hostinger, drifted onto some AWS infrastructure, and for the CDN, I was using Cloudflare, both American, both gone now. I moved hosting to Hetzner in Germany and the CDN to Bunny.net out of Slovenia. With that, the whole stack finally flipped, all European. It only took me longer than I'd like to admit. So here it is, the full answer to your question. 7 layers, all European, running right now. The whole thing costs somewhere between 25 and 45 euros a month. The comparable American stack, AWS, Stripe, Cloudflare, the usual suspects, runs $80 to $150. That gap is mostly compute. Hetzner is not a little bit cheaper than AWS. It's 5 to 10 times cheaper for equivalent hardware. That tends to grab people's attention. Let me walk you through every layer, what I'm using, who the alternatives are, and where the honest trade-offs sit. Starting with the thing that matters most to your bill, hosting. Hosting and compute. I'm on Hetzner, German company, GDPR jurisdiction. Pricing starts at a few euros a month for a real cloud server. But the key point isn't just the price, it's that Hetzner sits entirely outside US Cloud Act reach. When your infrastructure is on AWS or Google Cloud, the US government can legally compel those companies to hand over your data. Even data sitting in a Frankfurt data center. Hetzner can't be compelled that way. That's the sovereignty argument, and it's not hypothetical anymore. If you want something closer to the AWS developer experience, managed Kubernetes, managed databases, the whole orchestration layer, Scaleway in France is the closest thing. Want fully managed hosting where you never open a terminal? Infomaniac in Switzerland, Finnish Cloud, UpCloud, a French alternative to Scaleway, OVH Cloud. The European hosting market is genuinely competitive now. But on price to performance, Hetzner is where I land. It's not close. Database. I'm running PostgreSQL self-hosted on my Hetzner box via Coolify. Coolify is a Hungarian open source platform, Apache 2.0 license, that gives you a Heroku-like dashboard without the Heroku bill or the Salesforce parent company. The practical upside of co-locating your database with your app server is that you eliminate egress costs entirely. When your app and your database are on separate providers, every query costs you data transfer fees. On the same box, it's free. For a small to mid SaaS, that adds up. If you'd rather not manage Postgres yourself, Scaleway and OVH Cloud both offer managed database services. Self-hosted Supabase is also worth a look. You get the Supabase developer experience without the data leaving your infrastructure. Transactional email, I use AHA Send based in the Netherlands. Developer first, which in practice means sandbox mode that actually works, idempotency keys so you're not accidentally double sending, scoped API keys, and raw delivery logs when something goes wrong. Free tier is 1,000 emails a month, covers most early stage projects. If you're a solo founder juggling transactional and marketing email in one platform, Brevo in France is worth considering. 300 free emails a day, unlimited contacts. Other options, Mailjet, MailerLite out of Lithuania, and Letterman, which is also Dutch. The European email space has gotten genuinely good. I'm not making do with AHA Send. I actually prefer it to some of the American services I used before. Payments. This is the one people worry about most. Stripe is so dominant that switching feels risky. Here's what I'd say. Mali, out of the Netherlands, is the closest European equivalent. They call themselves the European Stripe, and it's not an empty claim. Ideal, Bancontact, SIPA, Klarna, all supported natively from day one. Stripe added most of these as an afterthought. For European SaaS selling to European customers, Mali often fits better out of the box. Pricing is roughly 1.8% plus 25 euro cents per transaction, and Mali runs under PSD2 and GDPR. Stripe runs under US Cloud Act jurisdiction. That's the jurisdictional difference, and it's real. Need enterprise-grade infrastructure? Adyen is also Dutch and powers some of the largest retailers in Europe. Klarna in Sweden if you're doing buy now pay later. Paddle in the UK if you want a merchant of record that handles VAT for you. CDN. This is the layer I just migrated. I was on Cloudflare. Easy, fast, generous, free tier. but Cloudflare is American, and I've been meaning to fix that for longer than I'd like to admit. The switch to Bunny.net took about half a day. Bunny is Slovenian, EU-based, and they have 119 points of presence across 82 countries, so global reach isn't the concern. Pricing is pay-per-use at 1 cent per gigabyte. For typical SaaS traffic, that often works out cheaper than Cloudflare's flat-rate model. If Bunny doesn't fit, Gcore is headquartered in Luxembourg, Key CDN is Swiss, Fastly would be the other obvious name, but they're US-based, disqualified, US parent company, doesn't matter where the edge nodes are. Analytics, Simple Analytics, Netherlands, cookieless, no consent banner required, €15 a month. There's a compounding benefit here that's easy to miss. When you remove the consent banner, your analytics data actually gets better. You're not sampling from only the users who clicked accept. You see everyone. Cleaner data, better user experience, same price. That's not a trade-off. That's just a win. Alternatives. Plausible is Estonian, open source, and self-hostable. Run it on your Hetzner box and pay nothing beyond infrastructure. Pirsch is German. Matomo is worth a mention with one caveat. The parent company is registered in New Zealand, which is outside our European definition. Self-host Matomo on European servers and it qualifies. The data plane is yours. Authentication. This is the highest effort layer, and I want to be honest about that. Auth is not a weekend swap. My recommendation is Citadel, which is Swiss, Apache 2.0 license. It's the closest thing to Auth0 that's genuinely European. OIDC, SAML, social login, multi-tenancy, passkeys. The feature set is serious. One important caveat, Citadel Cloud, their managed hosting, runs on Google Cloud Platform. So if you're using Citadel for sovereignty reasons, self-hosted, it runs cleanly on Hetzner or Scaleway. That's what I do. If you want something lighter, Authelia is community maintained and excellent for SSO. Keycloak is the enterprise-grade option, Apache 2.0, and there's a newer one worth knowing, Rothi, German, written in Rust, lean and fast. Now, the gaps, because there are real ones, and I'd rather just say them. Managed serverless, AWS Lambda specifically. For low latency, high concurrency workloads, nothing European is at the same level yet. If serverless is load-bearing for your architecture, that's a genuine constraint. No SQL at hyperscale. There's no clean European DynamoDB equivalent. You can self-host alternatives, but that's operational overhead that a managed service removes. And then there are niche managed services, message queues like SQS, LLM APIs at production scale, IoT pub sub. The European managed ecosystem hasn't caught up there yet. My honest take, these gaps don't block most SaaS workloads. If you're building something up to millions of active users, the 7-layer stack handles it. The gaps only bite you at the edges of scale or in very specific architectural choices. One definitional note, because I get asked. When I say European, I mean the parent company is headquartered in the EU, the EEA, the UK, Switzerland, or an EU candidate country. US companies with European data centers don't qualify. AWS EU West 1 in Ireland is still subject to the US Cloud Act because Amazon is an American company. Server location is irrelevant. Parent company jurisdiction is what matters. There's also a carve-out for open source projects with US-based maintainers. Keycloak is a Red Hat project. But when you self-host it on a Hetzner server, the data plane is yours, sitting in Germany. The upstream maintainer's location stops mattering. That's the distinction. So, if you're starting fresh today, here's exactly what I'd spin up. Hetzner CPX31 as the base, Coolify on top for deployment and management, Postgres on the same machine, Brevo for email, Molly for payments, Bunny.net for CDN, Simple Analytics, and either Authelia for something lightweight or self-hosted Citadel if you need the full feature set. Total, 25 to €45 a month, fully under GDPR, no standard contractual clauses overhead, no Schrems 2 headaches. If you're migrating rather than starting fresh, tackle the layers in this order, hosting first, biggest cost impact, then payments, then CDN, then email, then analytics, then database. Save authentication for last. It's the most work and the least urgent from a cost or compliance standpoint. It's not a single weekend, but it's also not a year-long project. Most of these swaps are a few hours each. The broader context is worth naming. There's 180 million euros of EU funding flowing to European cloud providers right now. The Commission is actively restricting sensitive government data from US platforms. That regulatory tailwind is real, and European vendors have been responding to it. The stack I would have described 2 years ago was thinner. It's genuinely better now. If I were a founder starting a European SaaS today, I wouldn't even consider AWS as my default. That would have been a weird thing to say 5 years ago. It's not weird anymore. The full stack write-up is on the site, BuiltInEU, with links to every vendor, current pricing, and notes on where each one fits. And if you've already made some of these switches, let me know in the comments how it's going. I read everyone.